What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars completely loses it on live television? In just 29 seconds, a simple question turned into the most explosive meltdown in talk show history. Before we get into this absolute chaos, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We bring you daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, the confrontations they don't want you to see, and the moments that shake the entertainment industry to its core. Hit that subscribe button now, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Last night on the Norton show, what started as friendly banter between the beloved host and actor Colin Farrell turned into an absolute disaster that no one saw coming. The energy in the studio went from laughter to dead silence in seconds, and by the end, Farrell was storming off the set while cameras were still rolling. This wasn't just another awkward interview moment. This was a complete breakdown of professionalism that left everyone in the studio absolutely stunned. The show started normally enough. Norton welcomed Colin Farrell to the famous red chair, and the audience gave him warm applause. Farrell seemed relaxed, wearing his signature leather jacket and flashing that charming smile everyone knows. Norton started with some light questions about Farrell's latest film project, and everything seemed perfectly fine. They talked about his training routine for the role, some funny stories from behind the scenes, and the audience was laughing at all the right moments. There were other guests on the couch too, and they were all smiling and enjoying the banter. "So Colin, you've been in the business for over 2 decades now," Graham said with his usual cheerful tone, that warm smile plastered on his face. "You've played everything from hardened criminals to sensitive romantic leads. You've worked with some of the biggest directors in Hollywood. What keeps you going after all these years? What's the secret to staying relevant in such a competitive industry?" Farrell leaned back in his chair, looking comfortable and relaxed. "You know, Graham, it's the craft, man. It's about finding truth in every character, no matter how big or small the role is. That's what drives me. I still get excited reading scripts, still get nervous before the first day of shooting. The day that stops is the day I need to retire, you know? It's about staying hungry, staying curious." The audience clapped enthusiastically, and Norton smiled warmly. "That's beautiful, really. It's clear you still have that passion burning bright. Now, speaking of your recent work, I have to ask because everyone's been talking about it for weeks now. There were some rumors flying around about what happened on your last film set. Some people are saying there were some pretty serious disagreements with the director. Some crew members have even come forward with stories about tension on set. Care to set the record straight? I think everyone would love to hear your side of things." And that's when you could feel the temperature in the room change completely. Farrell's smile faded just a little bit, and he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His body language completely changed in an instant. He crossed his arms defensively, and his eyes narrowed slightly. "Graham, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but that's not really something I want to get into tonight. I came here to talk about the film, about the work, not to discuss internal production matters that should stay private." Norton, sensing he might be onto something interesting, pressed forward without hesitation. He leaned in closer, his voice taking on that tone he uses when he thinks he's about to get a good story out of someone. "Oh, come on, Colin. We're all friends here. This is a safe space. The word is that you and the director had a massive falling out over creative differences. Some crew members even said you walked off set for 3 days and refused to come back until certain changes were made. Production had to shut down completely. Is there any truth to that? Because if it's not true, now's your chance to clear the air and tell everyone what really happened." Farrell's jaw tightened visibly. You could see the muscles working in his face as he tried to keep his composure and not explode right there on camera. "Look, every film set has its challenges. That's just how it works in this industry. Directors and actors don't always see eye to eye on every single decision, but that's part of the creative process. It doesn't mean there's drama. It doesn't mean there's a scandal brewing. It just means people care deeply about making the best film possible." "But walking off for 3 days?" Norton continued, his voice still friendly but definitely pushing harder now, digging deeper. "That seems like more than just creative differences, doesn't it? That seems like a pretty serious breakdown in the working relationship. And I'm told the production company had to bring in professional mediators to get you back on set. That's a pretty big deal, Colin. That costs money. That affects everyone's schedule." "I didn't walk off," Farrell said, his voice getting a bit sharper now. His Irish accent was becoming more pronounced with each word, the way it always does when he gets emotional. I took some personal time that was already scheduled weeks in advance. Whoever told you I walked off is either lying or they don't have the full picture of what was going on. And frankly, I'm getting really tired of having to defend myself against rumors that have absolutely no basis in reality. The audience got quiet. You could feel the tension spreading through the room like a wave. You could hear how tense Farrell was getting with every word, but Norton wasn't backing down at all. If anything, he seemed energized by the confrontation that was building. Well, I'm just going by what multiple sources have said, Colin. And these aren't just random gossip sites making things up for clicks. These are industry insiders, people who were actually on the set with you every single day. They seem pretty certain about what happened. Are you saying they're all lying? That seems like a lot of people to coordinate such a detailed lie. Farrell sat up straighter in his chair, his hands gripping the armrest so tight his knuckles turned white. Multiple sources? What sources? Give me names, Graham. Because if you're getting your information from tabloid garbage and anonymous tips from people with axes to grind, then maybe you should do better research before you bring someone on your show and ambush them with complete bullshit. This is supposed to be a respectable program. The audience gasped loudly. Some people in the front row looked at each other with wide eyes, clearly shocked that things were escalating so quickly. Norton looked genuinely surprised by Farrell's reaction, but he didn't back down. Colin, I'm not ambushing anyone. This is just a conversation. These are questions that people want answers to. If there's been a misunderstanding, or if the stories are wrong, then tell us what really happened. Set the record straight right now. A conversation? Farrell's voice was rising now, getting louder with each sentence. A conversation doesn't involve dragging someone's name through the mud with rumors and lies. You're sitting here accusing me of unprofessional behavior when you don't even know the full story. You don't have all the facts. You don't know what was happening behind closed doors. Then enlighten us, Norton said, spreading his arms wide. If I don't have the facts, give them to me. That's why you're here, isn't it? To promote your film and talk about your work? I'm here because my publicist told me this would be a friendly interview, Farrell snapped back. I'm here because I thought I could trust you to be professional. Clearly, I was wrong about that. Norton's expression hardened. Colin, I am being professional. What's unprofessional is you attacking me for doing my job. Every single person who comes on this show gets asked about what's happening in their career. You're not special. I never said I was special, Farrell retorted. But I do expect basic courtesy. I expect not to be blindsided with tabloid nonsense that you clearly haven't properly fact-checked. The other guests on the couch looked extremely uncomfortable now, shifting in their seats and avoiding eye contact. One of them whispered something to the person next to them, but the microphones didn't pick it up. Norton tried to calm things down, holding up his hands in a placating gesture, but his voice still had an edge to it. I'm not accusing you of anything, Colin. I'm simply asking about something that's been widely reported across multiple outlets, major entertainment publications. If it's not true, then tell us what really happened on that set. Help us understand what went wrong. What went wrong? Farrell's voice dripped with sarcasm. What went wrong is that people can't mind their own damn business. What went wrong is that every single thing that happens on a film set gets leaked and twisted and turned into gossip. That's what went wrong. I don't owe you or anyone else a detailed explanation about what happens in my private work environment. Farrell shot back immediately. What happens on a film set stays on a film set. That's called professionalism, Graham. That's called respecting the process and respecting the people you work with. Maybe you should try it sometime instead of airing everyone's dirty laundry for entertainment. Private work environment? Norton challenged. Colin, you work in one of the most public industries in the world. Your films are seen by millions of people. You get paid millions of dollars. That's not exactly private. My salary has nothing to do with this, Farrell said, his voice rising again. And yeah, the films are public, but the process of making them, the relationships on set, the creative struggles, those should be private. There's a difference. Norton shook his head. But when those private matters affect the production, when they cost the studio money, when they delay release dates, they become public interest. That's just reality. Public interest, Farrell scoffed. Is that what we're calling gossip now? Public interest? Give me a break, Graham. You know as well as I do that this is about getting clicks and views. Don't try to dress it up as some noble pursuit of truth. The tension in the studio was getting unbearably thick now. Norton's smile was completely gone, replaced by a look of frustration and anger. Colin, I've been doing this show for years and years. I've interviewed hundreds of actors, directors, musicians, authors, politicians. Everyone knows that when you come on this show, we talk about what's happening in your life and career. That's the whole point of doing press. That's why you're here. Yeah, well, maybe I expected a bit more respect than being treated like I'm on some trashy gossip show, Farrell said, his Irish accent getting even stronger as he got more heated. You're supposed to be one of the good ones, Graham. But right now, you're acting like every other hack journalist who just wants to stir up drama for ratings. Is that what this is about? Ratings? Norton's face flushed bright red. The host clearly wasn't used to being talked to like this on his own show, especially not in front of a live audience and cameras. Excuse me. I'm a hack journalist now? Colin, I think you need to take a breath and remember where you are. This is getting completely out of hand. I know exactly where I am, Farrell said, his voice dangerously calm now. I'm on a show where the host thinks it's okay to blindside his guests with accusations and rumors instead of having a real, genuine conversation about the work. That's where I am. The audience was completely silent now. You could hear a pin drop in that studio. Everyone there could feel how wrong this was going, how quickly it was spiraling out of control. Norton stood up from his chair, facing Farrell directly. I didn't blindside you with anything. These are legitimate questions about legitimate stories that have been circulating in the industry for weeks. If you can't handle being asked about your own behavior, then maybe you shouldn't be doing press tours at all. My behavior? Farrell's voice exploded through the studio, loud and echoing off the walls. You want to talk about behavior? How about your behavior, Graham? How about the fact that you make your living off embarrassing people and digging into their personal lives for entertainment? How about the fact that you pretend to be everyone's friend and then you stab them in the back on live television? The audience collectively gasped. This was crossing a line, and everyone knew it. Norton's co-host looked absolutely mortified. Norton's eyes went wide with shock and anger. His whole face flushed. That is completely out of line, and you know it. I have built my entire career on making people feel comfortable and having fun. Engaging conversations. I've never stabbed anyone in the back. Don't you dare try to make me the villain here, because you can't handle a few tough questions about your professional conduct. A few tough questions? Farrell shot back. You've been badgering me about this for the past 5 minutes. You won't let it go. You keep pushing and pushing like you're trying to break me down. Is that what you want? You want me to break down on your show so you can have your viral moment? I want you to answer a simple question, Norton said, his voice sharp. I want you to address the rumors instead of deflecting. Is that really too much to ask? Yes, Farrell yelled. Yes, it is too much to ask when you're asking me to address lies and speculation. When you're asking me to dignify nonsense with a response. Tough questions? Farrell laughed. But there was absolutely no humor in it. It was bitter and harsh. You call spreading lies and gossip tough questions? That's not journalism, mate. That's just being a shit-stirrer who doesn't care about the truth. The producer in the background was making frantic hand signals to cut to commercial break, desperately trying to save the situation, but both men were too locked into their argument to notice or care about anything else. Norton took a step closer to Farrell, his finger pointing accusingly. I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, Colin. Hundreds. And never, not once in all that time, has anyone accused me of being unprofessional or spreading lies. The fact that you're reacting this way, the fact that you're getting this defensive, tells me that maybe there's more truth to these stories than you want to admit. Farrell's face went bright red, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. You don't know a damn thing about what happened on that set. You don't know what I was dealing with, what was going on behind the scenes, what kind of pressure I was under every single day. You sit here in your comfortable studio with your audience and your cameras and your celebrity guests, and you think you have the right to judge people you know absolutely nothing about. I'm not judging you, Norton said, his voice getting even louder to match Farrell's volume. "I'm asking you questions that any interviewer would ask someone in your position. If you can't handle that, then maybe you need to grow thicker skin. This is part of the job, Colin. This is what being a celebrity means." "Thicker skin?" Farrell was shouting now, his face contorted with rage. "I've been in this business for over 20 years, Graham. I've dealt with criticism from directors, from critics, from audiences. I've dealt with failure. I've dealt with rejection. I've dealt with more shit than you could possibly imagine. But what I won't deal with is being disrespected on live television by someone who's supposed to be a professional broadcaster. Someone who's supposed to know better." "Know better?" Norton's voice was incredulous. "Know better than to ask relevant questions? Know better than to address stories that everyone is already talking about? That's not how journalism works, Colin. This isn't journalism," Farrell shouted, gesturing wildly at the studio. "This is entertainment masquerading as journalism. There's a difference, and you know it." "Fine," Norton said, his voice cold. "Call it what you want. But when you agree to come on a talk show, you agree to talk. That's the deal. And if you can't honor that deal, then why are you even here?" "I'm asking myself that same question right now," Farrell muttered, loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Norton threw his hands up in exasperation. "You're the one being disrespectful right now. You came on my show voluntarily. And now, you're calling me names. You're accusing me of being unprofessional. All because I asked you about something that's been in the news for weeks. How is that me being disrespectful? Explain that to me." "Because you knew this would happen," Farrell yelled, taking a step toward Norton. "You knew bringing up that set drama would get exactly this reaction. And you did it anyway for the entertainment value. For the clips that would go viral. That's manipulation, Graham. That's using people for content without any regard for their feelings or their privacy." The host's face was bright red now, veins visible in his neck. "I don't manipulate my guests. That's an outrageous accusation. If asking about current events in someone's career is manipulation, then every single talk show host in the entire world is guilty of it. You're being completely unreasonable, and you're making a scene." "Unreasonable?" Farrell stepped even closer, and 2 security guards started moving quickly toward the stage from the wings. "I'll tell you what's unreasonable. What's unreasonable is inviting someone to your show under the pretense of a friendly chat, and then ambushing them with tabloid bullshit. What's unreasonable is not having the basic decency to warn someone that you're going to bring up sensitive topics that they clearly don't want to discuss." Norton wasn't backing down an inch. "I don't need to warn people that I'm going to ask them about their lives and their careers. That's literally my job as a talk show host. And if you had nothing to hide, if everything was above board, this wouldn't be such a big deal to you." "Nothing to hide?" Farrell's voice cracked with pure anger. "This isn't about hiding anything. This is about basic human respect and decency. This is about not treating people like they're circus animals performing tricks for your audience's amusement. We're human beings, Graham, not content for your show. Not puppets you can manipulate for ratings." "Manipulate?" Norton's voice went up an octave. "Now I'm manipulating you? Colin, you need to listen to yourself. You're completely out of control right now. You're having a meltdown on live television, and you're blaming me for it." "I'm not having a meltdown," Farrell said through gritted teeth. "I'm standing up for myself. There's a difference. Something you clearly wouldn't understand, since you make your living tearing other people down." "I don't tear people down," Norton insisted, his voice shaking with emotion now. "I give people a platform. I give them an opportunity to share their stories, their work, their lives. If you're too insecure to handle that, that's on you, not me." "Insecure?" Farrell laughed bitterly. "That's rich coming from someone who needs to humiliate guests to feel powerful. Is that what this is about, Graham? Power? Control?" "Oh, please," Norton said, his patience clearly completely gone. "Don't give me this holier-than-thou speech about respect. You're an actor. You chose this life. You chose to be in the public eye and make millions of dollars. That comes with scrutiny. That comes with people asking questions you might not like. If you can't handle that basic reality, then maybe you should have become an accountant instead." The audience gasped again, even louder this time. That was a low blow, and everyone in the studio knew it. Farrell stared at Norton for a long moment, his chest heaving with anger, his breathing heavy. You know what, Graham? You're absolutely right. I did choose this life. But I didn't choose to be treated like garbage by people who are supposed to be on my side. I didn't choose to have my personal struggles turned into entertainment. I am on your side, Norton insisted, but his voice was dripping with sarcasm now. But I'm also a broadcaster, with a responsibility to my audience to ask real questions and get real answers. That's what they tune in for. Real questions? Farrell laughed bitterly. You wouldn't know a real question if it hit you in the face. All you care about is getting good sound bites and viral moments for social media. Well, congratulations, Graham. You got your viral moment. I hope it was worth it. Norton's face was a mask of pure fury now, his jaw clenched tight. You need to calm down right now, Colin. You're making a complete fool of yourself on live television in front of millions of people. This is going to follow you for the rest of your career. I'm making a fool of myself? Farrell's voice went quiet, which somehow made it even more intense and threatening. At least I'm being honest. At least I'm showing people who I really am, instead of hiding behind some fake persona. Can you say the same? How much of your nice guy persona is real, Graham? How much of it is just an act to get celebrities to open up so you can exploit them for content? That was it. That was the absolute final straw. Norton's face went from red to almost purple with rage. Get off my stage. Right now. I'm done with this conversation, and I'm done with you. Farrell didn't move an inch, standing his ground defiantly. Gladly. I wouldn't want to spend another second on this joke of a show anyway. This isn't entertainment. This is exploitation. Security! Norton called out loudly, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. Please escort Mr. Farrell out of the studio immediately. He's no longer welcome here. 2 large security guards started moving quickly toward the stage, but Farrell held up his hand to stop them. Don't bother. I'm leaving on my own terms. He reached down and ripped off his microphone pack, yanking the wire free roughly. He threw it on the chair where he'd been sitting. This is exactly what's wrong with entertainment today. Nobody has any integrity anymore. Nobody cares about real conversations or real connections. It's all about the drama, the clicks, the views, the viral moments. Well, I won't be part of it anymore. I'm done. Norton stood with his arms crossed tightly, watching as Farrell started walking toward the exit at the side of the stage. You're making a huge mistake, Colin. Walking off this show is career suicide. Everyone will see this. Everyone will know what you did. Farrell stopped and turned around one last time, fixing Norton with an icy stare. You know what's career suicide, Graham? Selling your soul for ratings. At least I can sleep at night knowing I stood up for myself instead of being someone's puppet. Can you say the same? Get out, Norton said through gritted teeth, his fists clenched at his sides. Get out of my studio right now. With pleasure, Farrell shot back. The audience sat in stunned silence as Colin Farrell walked across the stage, his footsteps echoing loudly in the quiet studio. He didn't look back, didn't wave to the audience, didn't acknowledge the cameras that were still rolling and capturing every moment. He just kept walking, his jaw set, and his fists clenched tightly at his sides, his whole body radiating anger. Graham Norton stood alone on the stage, his chest rising and falling with angry breaths. He looked at the shocked audience, then at the cameras that were still broadcasting live, clearly trying to figure out what to say or do next. But before he could speak, before he could try to salvage the situation, Farrell reached the side door of the studio and pushed it open with tremendous force. The door slammed against the wall with a loud bang that made everyone in the audience jump in their seats. And just like that, Colin Farrell was gone. The door swung shut behind him with another loud crash, and for a moment, nobody in the entire studio moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody even seemed to breathe. The entire audience was frozen in complete shock at what had just happened right in front of them. Graham Norton finally found his voice after what felt like an eternity. Well, he said, his hands visibly shaking slightly as he tried to compose himself. That was certainly unexpected. I apologize to everyone watching at home, but his words sounded hollow and empty. The damage was already done. The confrontation had spiraled completely out of control, and it had all happened live, in front of millions of viewers around the world. The show's crew scrambled frantically to figure out what to do next, but the moment was already immortalized forever. Colin Farrell had walked off the Graham Norton show in the most dramatic exit in talk show history.